uh, is really individualized based on your previous experiences and interests. But also, if you have any sort of general quick questions, feel free to post them in chat and we'll try to address them as we move through the presentation. So again, welcome. All right, so briefly, Tulane SoPA, for those of you who are not familiar, is one of the 10 schools that make up the Tulane University. It is a school that primarily serves working adults, which is why we're also the only school at the university that currently offers the prior learning assessment program, knowing that our students do come with such a wide range of experiences and backgrounds. Our school is located on the Uptown campus of Tulane University, which is uptown in New Orleans, off of St. Charles Avenue. Our building is Richardson Hall, right there, and you can see from our building, you can see the Tulane bead tree, as well as St. Charles, and we have the St. Charles streetcar right there. And the picture on the bottom right is our main office. And here we have student learning spaces, and you can come visit at any time, hang out and do some work. And also you can come and see me. My office is also in Richardson Hall if you have any questions. So today we're talking about prior learning assessment specifically and what that looks like at SoPA. What this means is that we offer an opportunity for folks who have a significant amount of work experience that could potentially translate into advanced standing as part of your degree. So credit for prior learning can be awarded for any learning outside of the classroom. This can be professional experiences, as well as community service, so volunteer experiences and military training. It cannot be awarded for courses that are usually hands-on, things like capstones or internships and labs, but a lot of our applied coursework, such as IT, digital design, homeland security, emergency studies, kinesiology, do qualify for this program. Let's share a little bit more what this looks like for our students. So our undergraduate students can earn up to 24 credits through prior learning assessment. This counts toward your 60 credit transfer maximum. So if you are transferring in 60 credits from another university, then you would not be able to do any sort of prior learning assessment because you reached that max. But if you're transferring less, then you would be eligible to earn some of those credits through prior learning assessment. Also, this type of credit does not count towards the school's residency requirement, and it cannot be transferable to other, excuse me, other schools within Tulane. For graduate students, you may receive up to 6 prior learning credits and only through portfolio assessment. And we'll talk about what portfolio assessment is in a little bit. So we have different forms of credit for prior learning. One is basically standardized testing. It's credit by examination. Excuse me. And this applies to undergraduate students, and you have several options here. There is CLEP testing as well as DSST. And these tests are basically standardized tests, very similar to what you would do as part of like an ACT or an SAT type exam, but they're subject specific. So for example, introductory course in religious studies, for example, might be one of those. And so you would take a standardized test that focuses on that area. And then if you earn a certain score that kind of meets the cutoff for credit, you would receive credit for an equivalent course that we offer. Excuse me. And then if you are proficient in a language other than English, you could also be eligible for language proficiency testing. For example, if you have a decent amount of knowledge of Spanish, for example, you may be able to go through this process and earn credit for intermediate Spanish. So this is also a standardized test, and it's offered through Tulane University, and it's offered for a variety of languages. And then I will spend a little more time talking about the portfolio development process. Excuse me. And this is something that's pretty unique to SoPA. Other schools offer it as well, but I think everybody does it a little bit differently. So I will talk about what that looks like here. So basically, all of you on this call are coming in with very specific experiences and knowledge that you've earned outside of school. And a lot of times that knowledge could be transferable to or equivalent to a course that we already offer. So portfolio development process allows you to um, align that experience with courses that we do offer and demonstrate that alignment. So as part of this process and figuring out if there is alignment with what you already know and what we offer, you would need to first meet with an advisor. Your advisor will help you both ensure that you are eligible to earn credit through prior learning assessment to make sure that you haven't already transferred 60 credits in for undergraduate students and similarly for graduate students that you're not that you haven't already transferred in 6 credits. So the first step would be to meet with an advisor and then figure out which courses you could potentially pursue through this process. Um, and then the next step would be to actually learn how to create a portfolio. So how do you demonstrate all of this experience that you do have and show that it actually aligns with a course that you could be taking, but you will not because you're writing the portfolio for it. The third step is to actually write that portfolio, the narrative that describes your experiences and that shows that you do have these experiences that are equivalent to a class. And you would also gather any supplementary documentation to show, to illustrate this knowledge and experience. And then the last step is to submit this portfolio for assessment. So this is usually submitted to a faculty member who has expertise in that area, and then they would evaluate it to see if what you have described is equivalent to what will be taught in a course for that particular subject. So let's see what this looks like for undergraduate and graduate students. For undergraduate students, you would start with a course, PAPL 1000. It's our portfolio development course. It's offered every semester. It is 3 credit hours that would count towards your general elective credits. The prerequisites are English 1010 and a 2.0 GPA. And this course would teach you how to write a portfolio. So how do you write this narrative that describes your experiences in a way that demonstrated this experience is equivalent to a course for which you're seeking credit. And then the nice thing about this is that the tuition for this PAPL 1000 class includes 3 portfolio assessments. So you take the class teaches you how to write a portfolio. It's also a really nice class because it helps you reflect on all of the experiences that you've gained and think about them in more depth. We don't really have an opportunity to do that very much. And so, you take that class, you receive a grade for that class. And then after the course, you can then submit 3 different portfolios for assessment. So this means you could potentially earn credit for 3 different courses without paying any additional tuition. So basically, you could earn 12 credits for the price of one. And then for graduate students, this is a little bit different because you do not have general elective credits. So you would take part in a self-guided development course, which would teach you how to create your portfolio. And you could, as mentioned earlier, earn a maximum of 6 credits, which is 2 courses. And the cost for each assessment is the cost of 1 credit hour. So instead of um, you know, paying 3,500 or whatever it is at this moment for a class, you would just be paying a third of that for each assessment. And so what does this look like? What does it mean to actually write a portfolio and submit it for assessment? So a lot of times when we talk about credit for prior learning or credit for previous experiences, it is not always clear what that actually looks like in practice. Do you just get credit because you have 10 years of experience in accounting, for example? And the answer is no. You have to not only demonstrate how you've earned that experience and how you've developed that knowledge, but you have to, as I mentioned, show that it aligns to specific accounting courses that we offer. And I'm just using accounting as an example. So the courses that you are eligible for this program are those in our applied program. So things like business and IT, digital design. And unfortunately, most of the humanities and liberal arts courses are not eligible. We can make exceptions. So if you feel like you do have significant experience in a particular humanities and liberal arts course, we can certainly talk about it. But generally, things like, 18th century English poetry, for example, is not something that people typically have in-depth knowledge that they've gained through previous experiences. But it's possible that you were a community member or volunteer at a library and focused on this area. So it's certainly something we can talk about, but generally we do exclude these courses from sort of the options that you can pursue. And each portfolio is a written narrative. So I like to describe it as sort of a final paper you might write in a class. Typically, they range from about 15 to 25 pages for undergraduates and about 20 to 30 pages for graduate students. This sounds like a lot, which it is, but also a lot of it is writing about your personal experience and thinking about all of the things that you've done. And so it's a helpful and meaningful process. I think everybody that's gone through the process has appreciated the opportunity to really reflect deeply about what they've done. And then the narrative also must demonstrate knowledge of each learning outcome for a particular course. So say again, you're trying to earn credit for an accounting class. If you look at a syllabus for that class, you will see maybe 5 learning outcomes. So those are the things that you will be able to do by the end of that course. And so as part of your narrative, you would take those 5 outcomes and then you would write about your experiences under each one. So that is the primary requirement of participating in this process, is the ability to describe your experience for each one. If you have 4 out of 5, you would not be able to pass the portfolio because you're missing one. So here's an example of what that might look like. So this is a course that a lot of folks who have possibly had jobs in an office environment might be eligible to seek a portfolio for. So it's one of our IT courses, and it's called Internet Collaboration. And so this class has 6 learning outcomes. So if you were to take this course, by the end of the class, you will be able to do these 6 things. So you will be able to define elements of the internet, demonstrate the ability to store and retrieve files and documents, explain the best use cases for internet collaboration, etc. So if you decide that you wanted to write a portfolio for this instead of taking the class, you would be taking these outcomes and then writing about your experiences for each one. So for example, define elements of the internet, you would need to provide a definition of what the different elements are and how has this come up in your work previously or your experiences. Explain the best use cases for internet collaboration. Again, this is where you would describe examples from your professional experiences that focus on internet collaboration. So you could talk about different types of projects that you've done with other people. You can talk about examples of when internet collaboration was effective. And so it can really range based on what your experience is, but you would have to discuss it and share the examples that you've experienced. And then also, you would be expected to show supplementary documents. So what that can look like can really range. For example, you may have done a training on internet collaboration and received a certificate. That can be a supporting document. You can also get a letter from a supervisor or a colleague who can speak about your internet collaboration skills. And so that can also be a supporting document. So you may have done a presentation and taught others how to collaborate using the internet or cloud-based applications. And so you can attach that presentation or attach the slides to illustrate that not only that you have this knowledge, but you'll also shared it with others. So really the documents can vary, but you are expected to show to include some supplementary documentation that shows that you have these experiences. And then once you write your portfolio, it gets sent to a faculty member who teaches that class. So in this case, it would be somebody that teaches internet collaboration. And so the faculty member would then evaluate it and consider if what you have described is equivalent to what you would have learned in the class. Each assessor uses a standardized rubric, and each portfolio is evaluated both on content as well as style. Content is obviously more important. So if there are significant issues with the content, there's a chance that you wouldn't be awarded credit. There's a little more flexibility with style, but the majority of the points are assigned to the content. And then a passing score on the portfolio evaluation results and credit for that class. So if you submitted a portfolio for internet collaboration, the assessor takes a look, decides that this is equivalent to what you have learned in the class. They would say, this portfolio receives a passing grade, which means then that we will post that course. So you would then have that internet collaboration course posted onto your transcript with a grade that just indicates that you've received credit by examination. And I will pass it over to Anne now to talk about the admissions process for those of you that are still in the process of applying. If anybody has questions, you can post them in chat and I can address those now, or we can also set up a time to talk more.
Thank you, Dalila, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And I know we have some current students, we have prospective students. My name is Ann Conlon. I work in admissions at SoPA. So I'm just going to briefly touch on the application. The application is straightforward. It's relatively simple. We do, as a thank you to those who have attended today, who are prospective students, as a thank you to you, we will waive the application fee, which is typically $40 for undergraduate and $50 for graduate applications. If you've already submitted an application, please just put your name in the chat to let me know that you've paid that fee. I can refund it for you. Otherwise, the application fee waiver will automatically be posted with your name. So there's no code or anything you need to put in to get that fee waiver. We ask that you upload a government issued ID, like a driver's license, passport, and then request that all transcripts at institutions where you receive credit, that you request them to send us your transcripts. That can typically be done electronically now. All right. Okay, thank you. I see everyone's notes if you paid the fee. And then a bit about deadlines. So for our summer semester, it's May 1st, which is tomorrow. Hard to believe tomorrow is May, but you're still welcome to apply to the summer session. Our next application deadline would be fall semester, which is August 1st. And then if you're looking further ahead, we have the spring semester, January 1st. We also have an early enrollment scholarship. So this, you can see the deadlines under each semester start. So these deadlines, if you have applied and are admitted and registered for our classes by those dates, you would receive either $200 as an undergraduate student or $500 as a graduate student off of your first semester. All right, and that should be the end of our presentation. We are open for questions. Thank you for everyone putting your info in the chat. I'm making a note and we'll refund your fees. It does take a few days for it to hit your account, but I will do that this afternoon.
Thanks, Anne, and thanks everybody for posting your information as well. We do have an alum of the program on the call, and she would like to share some tips and parts about her experience. So Shauna, I guess if you wanted to unmute, you can go ahead and share some of your experiences.
Hi, I'm Shauna Johnson. I'm a graduating senior, and I'm going to make this quick because it's somebody's nap time. Um, I did a couple of portfolios. One was one of those exceptions. I'm a notary, so it's like, hey, I'm a notary. Can I take notary law? And they're like, well, if you pass that test, which is fairly difficult, so they allow me to put it together. And when she talks about writing these portfolios and having to reflect, in addition to getting getting the information on paper based on the course, the the empowering feeling that I got when I got to the end of it was one thing. But when I got the assessment and the professor was the professor of law, he was so complimentary. I mean, he scolded me at the end for some things, but overall, to read that and read it and read it, it's like I did that, and it was so empowering. One, two, and that's just one of the exceptions too. I was working on a portfolio and taking the course along with some other courses, and that got to be overwhelming for me personally because we're talking about COVID and everything else that was going on. But I would recommend to say focus on the course and what that course wants you to do, because you don't have a time limit on when you need to turn in the portfolio. So that wasn't something that I knew, and I almost killed myself trying to get 3 portfolios in along with the course in one semester. So to know that the portfolio class and getting the content and getting the narratives and how to write those portfolios right is more important than and finishing the semester with that one course. You can come back and submit those portfolios. So I did submit one that semester, but also submitted one outside of a semester time frame. I think it was this semester actually. So and I'm working on the CPST 1400, so that will be 3 portfolios plus the PAPL. So I'm going to get the full 12 credits out of that course. There were some notes on my last portfolio. I wanted to, it never dawned on me that my assessor, I didn't read the rubric thoroughly. So what I missed was that I didn't tell the assessor, or I didn't put in my portfolio how I learned these things. Well, I'm autodidactic. I taught myself. I worked in the professional environment for 30 years, but I didn't put anything like that in my narrative. I demonstrated that I had mastered those objectives, but I took a couple of dings for not telling him how I learned those things. So it was something as simple as saying I had to teach myself because we were a small business back in the 90s, or whatever the case may be. So however you learn that skill, please be sure to include that. And the proficiency exams for the languages. Oh my God, I'm fluent in Spanish. I learned it in high school. 35 years later, I take the exam and get 4 hours for Spanish 3. How about that? So if you speak another language at whatever level, it's worth it to take the exam. I don't remember if there's a fee or not, but passing that exam was one thing. But then seeing it on my transcript, I don't know why I was so emotional, but that put me 4 hours closer to graduation. In addition to the PAPO course itself, and then the 2 portfolios, I was just knocking it out. And the last thing I want to say is that I happen to take business communication for my communication, I guess, or English requirement. Yeah. And we had to learn persuasive arguments, and that was a big help. I was just taking a class to get it out of my core. But when I started to write my portfolio, I was like, okay, maybe I should send this professor a cactus. And another thing that's helping me with this current portfolio that I took in a course I took in December, my last semester, academic reading and writing, was also helpful in the style. She talks about the style and the writing itself. So to tell the story, you got to tell the story and put it in their head that you know how to do this, because you know how to do it, and you just need to convince and demonstrate with the documentation. And it was easy to get notary stuff to, as far as the documentation. It was the narrative that did require a lot of effort. And I did better on the notary law portfolio. This is Simone. She's 3. She'll be 4 in a few days. She was in my daughter's belly when I started SoPA in fall of 2019. Say hi, Simone.
Hi.
Okay, now put the airplane down. So, yeah, so that academic reading and writing, I don't even remember what I was saying, but it's totally worth it. Put your focus in on the PAPL, the course, the content, and learning how to do a persuasive argument to, and you'll be surprised at what'll come out. Oh yeah, I remember I did this and I did that. And it just, that first portfolio, the second one was harder than notary law. The CPST one I did was harder than the doggone notary law because I had to recreate documentation and prove that I could do those things. So I'm just going to go back on mute and say is highly recommended. It is one of the things that drew me to SoPA was I had 30 years of secretarial experience and no college. I mean, a little bit of college from the University of Texas 35 years ago. But I was going through, oh, and I did an extensive resume for myself, very comprehensive resume. And then Delilah and I went through it line by line. It's like, okay, hey, I've done accounting for 20 years, business accounting. She sends over the syllabus with the objectives. Nope. So we went through that with a lot of things. I mean, I can do differential equations in my head, but it didn't. But all those things didn't translate. So, but do a comprehensive. You'd be surprised what you can get your credit for, and move 3, 6, 9, 12 hours closer to graduation. And did I mention that Spanish was worth 4 hours? So there we go. Say goodbye, Simone. Just wait.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye, Simone. Thanks so much, Shauna. That's really helpful, and it's been great just kind of going through the process with you as well, because it is exciting. I mean, you've done all this work, and it is pretty awesome to be able to not only reflect on all of the amazing things you've done, but also, earn some credit for that as well. So I forgot that you did the Spanish exam too, which there is a fee, but it's both kind of the CLEP and the SSD and the Spanish proficiency exams are all under $100. I think they're about $85, $95 for per test. So super affordable if compared to taking a class, if you have that knowledge. So I've seen some questions. There are a few folks that I think would benefit from an individual meeting. So for those of you, please send me a few days and times that work really well for you. So you can send me an email to delila@tulane.edu, DELILA@tulane.edu. And I can send you a Zoom link for one of the times that you selected that also works for me. And then we can talk more. As I said, most of these are going to be very individualized conversations because you all have different experiences, but I'm happy to talk to everybody and answer any questions that you have.
All right. And yes, I thank you everyone who put your info in the chat. If you had already paid the application fee, I will refund the fee that you paid this afternoon. Takes a couple days to hit your account. For those of you who have not submitted an application fee yet, there's nothing you need to do. This is something I do on the back end where I put your name in that you attended this webinar, and just by the time you click submit for your application, it won't ask you to pay an application fee. So that happens automatically, but I'm putting my name in the chat. If you have any questions that come up, please feel free to contact me. And then, okay, and then I see Sherry Hill sent me a message transferring with an associate's degree. All right, I will follow up with you, Sherry. All right, and then any other questions, please feel free to email us.
Well, thanks so much, everybody. I hope you have a great the rest of your day and a great week. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Simone, as well.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.